My boss fired me for being too expensive. Months later they begged me and paid triple to fix it. After 12 years of carrying the engineering department, my boss fired me. We can hire 3 junior engineers for your salary. Months later, when their systems collapsed and clients demanded answers, they had to beg me and pay triple just to keep the lights on. Hey Reddit, after 10 years holding my company together, my boss fired me for being too expensive. Fine, I walked, but they were not done falling apart without me. Before we get to that, let us start at the beginning. My name is Grant. I am 58, a senior engineer, and for 12 years I was the person they called when something expensive broke. When the alarms went off, the lines stopped and everyone started looking for an adult. We could hire 3 junior engineers for your salary. Vincent said it like he was buying bulk screws. Half smile, pen clicking. I did not answer, just nodded. The silence in that conference room had weight. Everyone understood, not cost-cutting, disposal. I had built the engineering department out of a storage closet and a drafting table. First through the doors at 6 in the morning, last to kill the lights around 9 at night. I never asked for raises. I thought results were enough. In 2018, the main pump failed. If we shut down, production would have stalled for 3 months. I stayed 36 hours straight and rigged a hydraulic bypass nobody else would try. It saved $400,000 in downtime. Last year was Westport. Impossible timeline. Juniors ducking responsibility. Client ready to walk. I drove out and ran a meeting at 2 in the morning because that is when their vice president would give me 10 minutes. I found the fix, stabilized the plan, and delivered. Westport brought in almost $900,000 over 8 months. None of it mattered in the room with Vincent's pen. I packed my desk into a box, a photo of Rebecca, my dented thermos, a cheap award ruler, and my notebook, calculations, diagrams, and my own problem-solving methods. Vincent stood, already done with me. Nothing personal, Grant, just business, I understand. And I did, just not what he thought. I walked past the people I had trained. Nobody said a word. The office sounded normal. Keyboards, a printer cycling like I was not happening. Kyle looked up, started to speak. Then Vincent glanced at him, and Kyle disappeared into his monitor. Karen pretended to be on a call. Wade stared at his keyboard like it might protect him. In my car, the box on the passenger seat, I realized I had never had an afternoon this empty. For the first time in decades, my calendar meant nothing. There was exactly one engineer in that plant who knew where the hidden cable runs between Workshop 2 and Workshop 5 were installed in '98. Never documented. I traced them by hand during an audit everyone else avoided. I never wrote them down because the place ran on memory. One engineer who could tell a client no without losing them. Who knew which suppliers delivered and which needed pressure. Who knew the Zone 4 temperature sensors rate high. That engineer just left the parking lot. I did not make a scene. I just left at the right time and let physics work. I drove home at 2:15. Roads empty. Wrong time to be driving. My wife, Rebecca, her car was not in the driveway. She taught art at the community center and handled their scheduling. She would not be back until 4 o'clock. I set the box on the table, made coffee, waited. Rebecca came in at 4:20, saw me, saw the box. So, you just left? I nodded. Did not even tell them where to shove it, no. She looked at me with that quiet disappointment I'd been collecting for years. What happens next? Rest a bit, I said, then figure it out. She nodded and closed the bedroom door softly. I remembered the weekend she had asked for 3 years ago. 2 days at the coast. I said I could not. Project deadline. She did not argue. She just stopped asking. I opened my notebook. The pages were worn where my thumb always sat. My work was there. My methods. The stuff nobody else bothered to learn. And then the part I had been ignoring. Connor, 24, fresh degree, no experience. Hired 3 months ago outside the normal process. Vincent's pick introduced with that proud tone. Connor is going to bring fresh perspective. Fresh perspective meant connections. Connor got development time. Connor got praise for basic tasks. Great initiative on that tolerance review, Connor. The tolerance review I wrote. He copied it word for word down to my weird formatting. When I raised risks, I got tone issues. When I said the timeline was physically impossible, I got told to be collaborative. My real job became anchoring Connor, making sure he did not fail and making sure it looked like he succeeded. Vincent called me into his office. Walk Connor through the Meridian retrofit. Let him present. You want me to do it and let him take credit? I want you to develop future leadership. So, I did it. 8 hours walking him through specifications, tolerances, suppliers. At the all hands, Vincent smiled and said, Connor found cost-saving opportunities worth about $120,000 over the next year. Exactly the innovative thinking we need. Connor looked uncomfortable. He did not correct him. I did not either. The thing was, I had emailed those exact savings 3 months earlier. Vincent ignored it. Connor said it once and it became genius. After the meeting, Connor tried to speak. I cut him off. It is fine. It was not. We both knew it. 2 weeks later, Connor specified the wrong material grade on another project. Under thermal load, it would have failed catastrophically. I caught it in review and fixed it quietly. Vincent never knew. That should have been my warning. Next morning, I got an email from my former colleague, Wade. 7:45. Heard what happened. Everyone is in shock. Nobody saw this coming. Kyle says, Vincent moved fast so you would not have time to do anything. Let me know if you need anything. I let it sit. Instead, I went to the library, same place where I had first tackled the production efficiency problem back in 2013. That solution became the foundation for what I later built there. When I joined them, the book was still there. 3rd floor, mechanical engineering section. Formulas for efficiency in mechanical engineering. Published 1987, picked it up, sat at the same table by the window, started thinking, not about work, about what I actually wanted. That evening, Vincent called, 5:17 in the afternoon. Tuesday, stared at my phone screen. Vincent ringing, let it ring out. Did not call back the next day or the day after. 3 days later, email arrived, Friday, 4:32 in the afternoon. Grant, we are having difficulties with the Keystone project. Need your advice. We will pay. We would like you to come in briefly. I understand how it looks, but this is not a request. It is an offer. Keystone, big contract, started in October, supposed to wrap in March. Complex automation system for their distribution center. I knew the whole approval chain, the specification pitfalls, which suppliers would ghost without constant pressure. Without me, they were sinking. They knew it. Could have gone in, could have taken the money, maybe $175 per hour. Could have cleared $2,000 in a week, closed my laptop, went to wash dishes. Rebecca came into the kitchen, saw me scrubbing the same plate 3 times, asked if I got that email. I nodded. Asked if I was going to respond, said no. She nodded. No commentary. That silence was louder than any words. Next day I called Wade. Saturday morning. He answered on the first ring. Grant. Yeah, a beat. Everyone is in shock. Nobody saw it coming. They did. They just did not think it would be me. Wade exhaled. It is a disaster here. What happened? Vincent gave Keystone to Connor. I sat up. Connor? Yeah, and he's answering technical questions with buzzword synergy, optimization. WDE's voice went thin. Victor stopped calling. He is sending formal complaints now. Escalations. Everything in writing. Good. Wade went quiet. Then there is more. Say it. Vincent offered Kyle your role if he stayed quiet in the layoff meeting. I stared at the table. Kyle took it. Yeah, Wade swallowed. He told me last night, acting guilty. He is not guilty. He is scared. Wade hesitated. Grant, I almost warned you. That morning, Vincent was in the hallway. I froze. I did not answer right away. It would not have changed anything. I said, I am sorry. I know. Wade tried again, softer. So, what are you going to do? I do not know yet. Are you going back? No. Are you going to help them with Keystone? I looked at the phone like it was testing me. No. Okay. Wade said quiet. Okay. I hung up and sat there with the silence. Kyle's silence was purchased. WDE's was fear. Standard. Actually, there is more to the Kyle thing that makes it worse. Human resources only let me pack the basics that first day. Said I could come back later for the rest. When I came back the next week for the personal files still in my desk drawers, I walked past my old spot, corner office, window view, the spot I had had for 6 years. Kyle was sitting there, new nameplate already up. He saw me coming and literally turned away. Pretended to be on a call, but I saw it. His old desk was in the bullpen. Now he had mine. Benefits of staying quiet. Later that day, I found a business card. Conference in Chicago 2 years back. Guy from a consulting firm. Card said Vantage Works Consulting. Put it on the table. Opened my laptop. Started to list clients and their quirks, specifications, the off-book tolerances, and undocumented tweaks, my own methods and failure mode notes saved in my notebooks after the computer-aided design crash in 2021. Northline had a few portable document format files, but the real work was in my head and on paper. The fixes nobody wrote down. The bypasses, the hacks, the one mechanical change that saved 90,000. 3 inventions that never got filed. I opened a blank document and typed, what actually keeps the company running? Then I texted Wade, Friday, I will bring the notebook. We met Friday evening at Sam's, old place near the office. Good coffee, burgers that tasted like actual meat. Wade looked older. 52. Worked there 16 years. Stood when I walked in, shook my hand firm. We sat quiet. Waitress brought coffee without asking. She remembered, pulled out my notebook, set it between the salt shaker and ketchup. Wade leaned closer, started reading. His face changed as he flipped through pages. Problem-solving approaches I had developed. Client contacts who dealt with me personally. My own engineering methods that had never been formally documented. Lessons learned from failures, approaches that worked. Asked if it was still valid. Told him some was outdated. Some of what they were using now was never meant to be final. If they kept pretending it would bite them. Not my problem anymore. He exhaled slow, asked what I wanted them coming to me, not out of politeness because they needed me. Long sip of coffee. Then he said he could help. Had connections at Vantage, Works. They had tried to recruit him 2 years ago. They cared about results. Next day, I sent an email using that business card. Short, direct, open to talking. Experience in mechanical engineering, system design, quality control. Can show real examples of solved problems others avoided. Available for contract work or consultation. Grant. Rebecca saw when I printed it. She was making lunch, grilled cheese. Asked if I was really getting involved in this again. Told her I was getting involved in not being silent. She nodded. Set the sandwich in front of me. First time in weeks it was not indifferent. It was understanding. Monday morning, 9:15. Keystone client wrote to my personal email. The same one I had given Victor 2 years ago during late-night crisis calls when their previous contractor had ghosted them mid-project. Grant, you are not with Northline anymore, but maybe you can find 15 minutes to talk. We are ready to pay for your time. This is urgent. Met their representative in a neutral conference room, small office building downtown. They did not want to go back to Northline's office. That said everything. Victor sat down like the meeting had already started. Grant. Victor, no small talk. He slid a tablet across the table. We did not even know you had left. Everything fell apart in 1 week. I looked at the screen, my drawing. Big label at the top. Draft version 2.3. Preliminary, not for final use. This is what Northline sent as final specifications. Victor said 40% of the components say pending supplier confirmation. Material grades are to be determined. We asked your replacement what it meant, and he froze. I zoomed in. My margin notes, my handwriting. This is a draft, I said. I sent it for approach review. Final specifications come after your team signs off. Victor's face tightened. Vincent told us it was final. Vincent did not know what he was looking at. Silence, heavy, clean. Victor leaned back. So, what do you want? I am not with Northline, I said. If I help you, it is direct. No work through them. Separate contract, transparent payment. I choose scope. Victor did not flinch. Rate, $175 an hour for diagnosis and consultation. Fixed project rates negotiable. He stared at me for a beat, then nodded once. Send terms, I will. We stood, shook hands. Not like businessmen, like people who were done being played. Next day, I wrote to Wade. If you are still in touch with Vantage Works, put me in contact, ready to talk on it. 2 days later, I sat across from Rachel, technical director at Vantage Works. Small office, clean, no corporate art trying to convince you the place had a soul. She had read my resume. Wade had filled in the parts paper cannot carry. We need people who can keep systems running when they fall apart, she said. I am not a magician, I told her. I have just watched enough things break. Rachel smiled like that was the only answer she cared about. Exactly. Project basis. A couple of months to start, no strings. What is first logistics client? Assembly line keeps jamming. 3 consulting firms could not fix it. Timeline yesterday. I smiled. When do I start? As I walked out, I did not feel hollow. No rush, no high, just sober calm, back in business on my terms. When I got home, Rebecca poured tea without a word. Then she said, "This is different. This time you are not doing it for them. You are doing it for yourself." I nodded, and for the first time in a long time, she looked at me like I was not a problem she was waiting to outlast. She looked at me like I had finally woken up. But something else happened that week. Something I had set in motion without realizing. I had sent those preliminary drawings to Victor at Keystone months ago, labeled them clearly, draft version 2.3, preliminary not for final use. Standard practice. But Vincent did not know that. When Victor asked Northline for the updated system specifications, Vincent found my old portable document format drafts in the shared folder, assumed they were final, sent them directly to Keystone. No review, no engineering check. Victor's team started asking questions. Connor had no idea what any of it meant. A week after my first Keystone call, I'd done 3 video sessions and 1 on site. The problem showed itself in the first hour. The control system was fighting the sensor array because someone installed incompatible firmware versions. Classic. The fix was not expensive, just needed someone who knew what to look for. Victor was stunned. On the last call, he said, "You saved us 5 weeks and about $180,000 in equipment replacement. What was your old company doing?" I shrugged, selling young and cheap. They asked if they could share my name. Yes, I told them. But do not tie it to Northline. I am independent. At the same time, VantageWorks dropped my first assignment. A logistics distribution center moving over 50,000 units a day when it worked. When it did not, it cost $10,000 an hour. Frankenstein equipment from 3 manufacturers, 15 years of patch jobs, and a team of fresh graduates who had never had to diagnose a live system with missing documentation. I did not chase authority. I watched. Day 1, map the process. 8 hours of observation and notes while everyone begged for a quick fix. Day 2, trace the failure points. 12 small issues compounding under load. 3 critical heat expansion in Zone 7. Throwing off sensor alignment, misaligned rollers in Section 12 creating drag, and a timing delay in the control sequence that only showed up at peak throughput. Day 3, apply fixes and explain why they worked. Physics, mechanics, control logic. I let them ask questions, treated them like engineers. By day 4, they stopped doubting and started thinking. By day 5, they were taking their own notes. By day 7, they invited me to lunch. Austin asked, why did not the previous consultants find this? Because they were hunting one big failure. This was 12 small ones. You only see it if you watch the whole system long enough. Day 9, the director emailed. Line is running at 98% uptime. We want a more stable arrangement. Then the old network woke up. Another client from 4 years back asked if I was available. Said I was one of the only people they trusted. Wade called next. Tense. Harding was building a dossier, court threats, poaching accusations, reputation hits. I told him the truth. I had not recruited anyone. I had just not stopped adults from making their own choices. Be careful, Wade said. I am calm. Rebecca sat beside me after I hung up. Is he going to attack? He will try. She smiled. Then do not look back. That week I told her about the VantageWorks deal and the flood of emails. 5 in 2 days. She listened and said, so now you are the one choosing. For once, she was right. The next week filled fast. 2 client calls and 1 lawyer. Northline's attorney came in, polished and cold. Stop consulting on anything tied to my old work. I told him my contract was done. No drawings, no proprietary files, just experience. This could be intellectual property. Let them prove it. Experience is an intellectual property. 2 days later, VantageWorks offered a 6-month contract. I rewrote the terms. Freedom to pick tasks, permission for private work, the right to refuse projects, no non-compete. They agreed. Rebecca went quiet when I told her, then finally said, you are your own boss now, even if it all blows up tomorrow. You are not one of them anymore. That night, a new email hit my inbox. Briggs and Calder. We want you to build an engineering department from scratch. We hear you build teams that function. They did not mention Northline. They did not have to. 3 months out, and they were not asking me to come back. They were asking me to rebuild on my terms. Met with Philip from Briggs and Calder in a hotel conference room. Guy in his 40s. Polite but serious. Chief Operating Officer said they knew who I was, not from paperwork, from results. Need a department that worked, not visibility, effectiveness. Asked if he understood this meant complete break with Northline. He said they were ready, had legal support. Main thing was, if I was interested, I was, but did not want to rush. Told him I was not building a department for the sake of one, bringing together people who knew how to do things, but they had to trust me as much as I trusted them. He said they would give complete autonomy. Main thing was results. Handed me a tablet. Terms. Flipped through. First time someone valued the old craft itself. No nonsense, just essentials. Took a day to think. Told Rebecca everything when I got home. Said they wanted me to start from scratch my way. She asked if I was afraid. Told her I was just wondering if it was too late. 58 years old, starting over. She put coffee in front of me, sat opposite. Said I was not 58. I was someone who lived by other people's rules for decades. Now my first real year was beginning. Next morning I signed preliminary agreement. 2 days later, email from Diana, former systems analyst from my team. Heard you are building something new. If you need someone who can do more than sit in spreadsheets, I am here. Then call from Owen, senior technician, then from Amber. Procurement. They started coming back. Not to me, to what they believed in before Vincent buried it in numbers. Northline stayed silent, but I knew they were watching. Chose the first space myself. Warehouse in former industrial area, converted to workshop. Brick, concrete, old beams, 1,500 square feet, high ceilings, loading dock and back. Previous tenant was metalworking shop. Went under during pandemic. Landlord desperate. Gave me good rate. First month half price. Spent 2 days cleaning. Old oil stains. Rust on beams. Did not matter. It was ours. When Amber came and saw the place, she smiled. This is so you, not trendy, but it works. Started putting together team one by one. End of month, I had 8 people. Diana from systems analysis, quiet, methodical, could organize chaos into clarity. Had worked with me for 6 years at Northline. Left 2 weeks after I did, said she could not work for Vincent anymore. Owen from technical operations, 50 years old, hands-on guy. Could fix anything mechanical, diagnose anything electrical. Taught himself programmable logic controller programming from manuals when Northline would not pay for training. Had been passed over for promotion 3 times. Each time they gave it to someone younger with a degree but no real experience. Amber from procurement, sharp negotiator, knew every supplier in the region, knew who delivered on time and who made promises they could not keep. Had saved Northline hundreds of thousands by switching suppliers and renegotiating contracts. Never got credit for it. 2 others from the old team, Nolan, who had been in quality control, and Lisa from the test lab. 3 new people through referrals. WDE stayed behind at Northline, said someone needed to keep an eye on things from the inside. I did not ask him to. He just did it. Each person had a story. Each person had been overlooked or undervalued somewhere else. Each person wanted to do real work that mattered. We were not building a company, we were building a team that actually functioned. Started with small project for Briggs & Calder. Reconfiguring packaging line at their main warehouse. Simple outside, hell inside. Everything outdated, patched over patches, 0 documentation, equipment from 4 different eras. Conveyor system from the 90s. Control panel from 2005 with buttons so worn you could not read the labels. Sensors added piecemeal over years. Motor controllers that did not match the motors. Wiring that looked like someone's nephew did it over a weekend. Nobody knew how it all worked together anymore. It just did until it did not. Spent first week documenting what existed. Drew diagrams by hand because the electrical schematics were useless. Half the components were not on drawings. Someone had scrolled notes and marker directly on the panel. Do not touch blue wire. Zone 3 override. Ask Phil. Phil retired 4 years ago. Nobody knew who he was. Previous engineer had made modifications without updating anything. Added a bypass here, rerouted a signal there, left no record, just tribal knowledge that walked out the door when he did. I traced every wire, photographed every connection, mapped every sensor, built documentation from scratch. Did not sleep 3 nights until we found the key weakness. Ancient controller running unstable protocol. Programmable logic controller from 1997. Communicating with newer equipment via adapters stacked 3 deep. Each adapter translating one protocol to another, each translation introducing delay and error. Like trying to get rotary phone to talk to smartphone through 2 different translators who only half understood each other. Technically possible, practically nightmare. When we replaced it and rewired the line with proper protocols, productivity jumped 26%. Downtime went from 4 hours daily to 20 minutes. Error rate dropped from 11% to under 2%. Briggs & Calder was thrilled. Sent check for $18,000. Project took 3 weeks. Could have taken 6 months through normal channels. More importantly, sent second job, same day, bigger another facility with similar problems. Around that time, I got unofficial email. Grant, hi. Did you really get team back together? Hope it is not temporary because I want to leave too. Do not believe in what Vincent is doing anymore. If you are ready, I am with you. Connor, the Golden Jr., the connected hire. Vincent put him in my spot after I got fired. Guess he understood now what it meant being at the top when you actually had to deliver. Did not reply right away. Official summons arrived Monday. Thick envelope, law firm logo, 3 pages of allegation, breach of employment agreement, poaching personnel, unauthorized use of internal information. Handed everything to lawyer. I found through Briggs & Calder. He flipped through, snorted, said it was classic pressure attempt. None of the points had evidence. He would send one hard demand. List exact files, drawings, or trade secrets with dates and proof. Force them to either produce access logs or withdraw quietly. Told him to do it. A week later, Wade called again. Quieter this time. Said Vincent pressured Connor to sign a statement accusing me of poaching and intellectual property misuse. Connor signed it. Vincent coached the whole thing. Connor was freaking out now. He did. Forwarded the message to my lawyer, then went back to work. But something else was happening. There was someone at Northline who did not like Vincent. Senior operations director named Franklin. Guy who valued results over politics. When Keystone started having problems, Franklin started asking questions. Not publicly, quietly. Franklin pulled access logs during internal investigation, saw someone accessing old project files late at night, saw the file history showed preliminary drafts being sent as final specifications. Franklin did not say anything to Vincent, just documented it. Waded through proper channels during the investigation. Those access logs found their way to my lawyer. Information technology security analyst named Morgan had flagged them for compliance review. Device identity timestamp file list. Someone pulling my old portable document format drafts at 11:47 at night on a Tuesday using old permissions that should have been revoked. My lawyer filed them with our response. Said nothing else in second week after launching the operation. First problem started. One of Keystone's contractors delayed delivery 10 days. At another site, conflict between two engineers over sensor array implementation. Diana rushed there. 6 hours of mediation. Third site had power supply issue. Breaker kept tripping. Owen drove 4 hours to troubleshoot. Grounding problem from installation done wrong 15 years ago. Felt familiar weight returning to shoulders. That pressure that once brought me to my knees. That feeling of being responsible for everything. Rebecca found me at 2 in the morning poring over drawings any of 3 new specialists could have looked at. You are taking everything on yourself again. If something goes wrong, it is my project. No, it is your project. Or are you alone again? Her words hit hard. Next day, I assembled team. Starting today, I am not touching current tasks. I will stay coordinator and mentor, not executive. Someone fails, it is a lesson. They succeed, it is a result. Either case, I trust you. Everyone was silent. Then Owen said, "So now we are not just working with you, we are a team." While we grew, Vincent did not sleep. A week after I ignored his threat email, an article appeared in Trade magazine, supposedly anonymous, about how a certain former engineer was using old connections to poach clients. I contacted the editor. "If you publish anonymous letters, publish facts too. Come visit. I will show you how we work." A journalist arrived 3 days later. Woman named Sarah, mid-30s, sharp eyes, spent 12 hours with us from early line start to evening dinner with team. Watched Owen troubleshoot a sensor calibration. Watched Diana coordinate with 3 different suppliers. Watched the whole team work through a problem nobody had seen before. Temperature regulation system failing intermittently. Took us 4 hours to find it. Bad ground connection. Simple fix once you knew where to look. Sarah took notes the whole time. Asked good questions. Then talked to Amber, Owen, even Rebecca. A week after article published. When honest work conquers fear. Story of an engineer who left and built his own business. Opened with the anonymous hit piece, then systematically dismantled it with facts. Timeline of clients who reached out, documentation of contracts signed, numbers showing real results, ended with one line. Sometimes the best revenge is building something that works. After publication, we got 27 emails. 14 from customers who once worked with Northline, 8 from engineers asking if we were hiring. 3 from suppliers, 2 from investors, 1 from someone I did not expect. "Grant, I read it. Sorry I did not stand up for you back then. I was wrong. If you are willing to talk, I have something you should see." Kyle, same Kyle sitting in the meeting when I got fired. But he did something else. Attached an email chain. Showed Vincent planning the layoff 2 weeks in advance. Showed Vincent specifically targeting me. Showed the timeline manipulation. Receipts. Not just apology, but the legal pressure was not over. Northline sent a cease and desist accusing me of using internal information, unauthorized access, trade secret misappropriation. My lawyer responded with one hard demand. List exact files, drawings, or trade secrets with dates and proof. Your client must produce access logs, file histories, and internal emails. We will request full discovery if this proceeds. Northline went quiet for 3 days. Then their lawyer withdrew the claim. Short letter. After internal review, company has decided to not pursue this matter further. Translation, they could not prove anything without exposing their own mess. But there was one more thing that happened around this time. Small thing, but it meant something. Rebecca had her Tuesday evening art class, never missed it. She had been teaching the same group of seniors for 3 years. I had a client meeting scheduled for 6 p.m. on a Tuesday. VantageWorks wanted me to present our approach for a potential major contract. Big deal, needed prep. Came home Monday night, Rebecca was at the kitchen table. I canceled tomorrow's class. What? Why? You need someone to help you prep that presentation. You are good at engineering, terrible at PowerPoint. Said she did not have to do that. I know I do not have to. I want to. We spent Tuesday afternoon working through slides. She reorganized the whole thing. Made it actually make sense. Made it tell a story instead of just listing facts. Next day, the client signed. That was when I knew she was not just watching anymore. She had chosen. 4 months after I left, Keystone sent a written requirement to Northline. Subject line in the procurement email read, "Urgent technical accountability requirement. Response required by end of business day." Body was one sentence. Name one accountable technical lead with decision authority and on-call availability by 1700 hours today. Wade texted me minutes after it landed. They are pulling everyone into a room. Vincent looks panicked. Vincent staged a proof call. Had replacement juniors on the line. Connor, Kyle, Karen. Had management stacked, director of engineering, vice president of operations. Vincent coached them beforehand for 3 hours, gave them buzzwords, told them to sound confident, told Connor specifically to lead the answers, rehearsed responses, practiced deflection, prepared talking points about leveraging synergies and optimizing deliverables. Nobody prepared them for actual technical questions. Keystone's engineering team joined the call at 1400 sharp. Victor, their quality assurance lead, named Patricia, their facility manager. 4 people who actually knew the system. Victor started simple, professional, calm. Asked them to confirm current system status and timeline. Connor jumped in with all the buzzwords Vincent taught him. Leveraging synergistic approaches, optimizing integration timelines, maintaining quality standards. Victor paused. 3 seconds of silence. Can you complete the current phase without redesigning the sensor array, yes or no? Connor hesitated, looked at Vincent off camera, said yes, absolutely. They could maintain current design parameters. Victor asked why the preliminary specifications they sent showed pending supplier confirmation on 40% of components. Silence. Connor froze, stammered something about standard processes. Victor cut him off, said they were labeled preliminary. Draft version 2.3 not for final use. Needed actual specifications. Due 6 weeks ago. Kyle tried to jump in, started talking about coordinating with supply chain, confirming parameters align with requirements. Victor's voice went flat, cold, told them to stop. Connor said yes, they could complete without redesign. Kyle just said they were still coordinating parameters. Which was it? More silence. Vincent interrupted, started talking about full confidence. Victor shut him down. Said he was asking the engineers to answer, told Vincent to let them speak. Connor and Kyle looked at each other, both silent. Victor asked something simpler. The hidden cable runs between Workshop 2 and Workshop 5 installed in '98. They had asked him about unexplained signal loss between those buildings last month. Where were the runs located? Connor blinked, said they would need to pull the documentation. Victor said there was no documentation. That is why he had asked me originally and I showed him. Asked again if they knew. Connor said they could research it. The client on line 3 is calling because their system is down. They need someone who can make decisions now, not research. Decide. Can you do that? Nobody answered. Victor's tone changed. Final. Send the name of your accountable engineer by end of day or we are terminating this contract. He ended the call. Vincent tried calling back. Went to voicemail. Wade texted, Vincent is yelling at information technology for the logs. 3 hours later, Victor emailed me directly. Neutral tone. Urgent. Said he needed 15 minutes. Met him next day. Neutral ground. I brought 1 page. Terms. Direct contract. Transparent payment. Fixed scope. No work through Northline. I choose tasks. Victor read it, signed it, said they were sending Northline final choice. Officially subcontract my team under their terms or lose the contract. 2 days later, Keystone sent the official choice to Northline procurement. Subject line, contract continuation terms. Subcontractor requirement. Vincent refused. Tried one last pressure move. Called their vice president. Threatened legal action. Keystone walked. Awarded contract to me and Vantage Works as a joint venture. Me as technical lead. Northline learned via procurement notice. Short formal contract terminated for failure to meet technical accountability requirements. Awarded to alternate vendor effective immediately. WDE texted. Vincent just got called into Franklin's office. Compliance is with them. I archived it. Rebecca showed up at the warehouse the morning the contract was awarded. I was reviewing site assignments with the team. She walked in with a tablet and printed schedule, set them on the table, started restructuring. Who goes to which site? Who is on call? Delivery windows, client communications. Within an hour, she had it organized, color-coded, clear. 15 minutes later, a client showed up unexpectedly, wanted immediate meeting. Rebecca handled it smoothly. He is in site review. You have 15 minutes with the right engineer now or a full hour at 1800 tomorrow. The client took the 15 minutes, got exactly what they needed. I was at the warehouse late afternoon, team unloading gear for tomorrow's deployment. Owen came over. We start at 6 tomorrow. We start at 6. My phone rang. Vincent. I looked at it, picked up the dented thermos from the workbench, took one sip of cold coffee, flipped the phone face down. A week later, I got an email from Wade. Subject line, you should know. Body was short. Franklin called emergency review. Vincent is on administrative leave pending investigation. They found access logs, draft specifications sent as final, coach statements, all of it. Compliance is involved. Forwarded it to my lawyer for records, then went back to work. A week later, an official letter arrived. Not to me, to Briggs & Calder, copied to Keystone Northline lawyer, withdrawing all claims. Short, formal. After comprehensive internal review, company has decided to not pursue this matter further. We recognize no violations occurred. My lawyer sent one line back, acknowledged. Connor showed up at the warehouse next morning, early, before anyone else. He had an envelope, handed it to me. Inside was a letter addressed to my lawyer retracting his coached statement, explaining Vincent's pressure, explaining what actually happened. Signed, dated, notarized. I know I messed up. This is everything I remember, everything he told me to say, everything that actually happened. Looked at him. You are here to work. Yeah, then work. We will talk later. He nodded. Went to his station. Rebecca came in at 8, tablet in hand. Started coordinating client calls, rescheduling site visits. By 9, we were running. A delivery truck arrived at noon. Equipment, materials, everything on schedule. I stood at the loading dock, watched Owen directing the unload, watched Diana checking inventory, watched Amber coordinating with the driver, watched Rebecca at the desk, phone to her ear, scheduling next month's site rotation, watched Connor in the corner actually working, learning. Vincent texted my phone. We should talk. Looked at it, set the phone down, picked up my notebook, opened to tomorrow's schedule, started planning. 2 days later, Wade texted, Vincent resigned, effective immediately. Franklin's memo cited policy violations. The board accepted it. He was gone. I read it twice, then deleted it. That afternoon, Keystone Procurement emailed subject vendor performance recognition. They praised our technical leadership and accountability, response time, problem resolution, system stability, the standard we expect. I forwarded it to the team. Anyway, we start at 6 tomorrow. As the curtain falls on this personal story, let us look at the bigger picture. The details may belong to one engineer, one company, and one collapse of leadership, but the deeper pattern is painfully familiar in many workplaces and families alike. For years, loyalty, silence, and quiet competence are often treated not as strengths, but as resources to be consumed. Society frequently praises endurance, the person who stays late, fixes every problem, and asks for nothing. Yet that same endurance can slowly create a dangerous illusion that the system works because of the structure, when in reality it survives only because someone keeps carrying the weight alone. When leadership mistakes loyalty for weakness and experience for replaceable cost, the collapse that follows is rarely sudden. It is simply the moment when the invisible foundation finally steps away. Stories like this reveal a toxic loop that appears not only in companies but in families, communities, and even friendships. People are often told that harmony must be protected at any cost. Do not confront the boss. Do not embarrass the family. Do not challenge authority. Stay quiet, stay useful, and eventually you will be appreciated. But appreciation built on convenience rarely lasts. When the moment comes that someone cheaper, louder, or more politically useful appears, the years of sacrifice can be dismissed with a single sentence. It's just business. What we call professionalism, or loyalty, sometimes becomes a quiet form of self-erasure, and systems built on that silence almost always reward the wrong people. That is why the turning point in this story was not revenge, victory, or even success. It was the moment someone decided to stop protecting a system that no longer deserved protection. I think that is the part many of us recognize when we listen closely. At some point, nearly everyone has stood in a room where the truth was obvious, yet nobody spoke because speaking felt dangerous. Breaking that silence does not mean destroying something valuable. Often it means refusing to keep supporting something that has already been hollowed out. Drawing a boundary, whether in a workplace or within a family, requires a strange kind of courage. It means accepting that respect cannot grow where honesty is forbidden. And perhaps that is the real lesson here. When someone finally stops carrying the weight alone, the collapse that follows does not prove they were disloyal. It proves how much of the structure depended on them all along. So here is the uncomfortable question that remains. If you discovered that your workplace, or even your own family, only functions because you silently absorb every mistake and injustice, would you continue holding everything together for the sake of peace? Or would you finally step back and risk letting the truth reveal itself?